It's the Score North Twin Show.
Boy, you guys loved the top 25 Twins of all time so much that you want us to do even more historical Twins rankings. In fact, we got a great email from listener Morgan, I believe. I want to give proper credit here.
Yep.
Welcome to the Score North Twin Show. And so he asked us, could you guys, after you're done ranking the top 25 Twins of all time, which you can find that full recap episode earlier this week, could you assemble an all-time 40-man Twins roster with starters and bench? And so we said, well, a 40-man roster is a little different than like an active roster of 26. So let's do the active 26-man historical Twins roster on this episode, and a random Twin of the Week to cap things off. I like this. This will be a fun exercise, boys.
Yeah, because 40 wouldn't have been fun because it would have been easy.
Yeah, because like
in fact,
all of the top 25 Twins would have been in.
And then we'd be struggling at the back end to be like Ron Jackson?
Yes.
Terry Tiffey? So, yes, this actually leaves, this definitely leaves room for debate, and it's fairly comprehensive, but there's going to be a few, I think, disagreements, especially when you get into guys who are successful in eras where the team was not.
Well, and like the outfield. There's so many, like Byron Buxton didn't make the top 25 Twins of all time. But I could argue if we're putting together a 26-man roster, and I think to clarify this exercise, I think we're taking the peak version of everyone, right? Like we would get 1991 Jack Morris. We would get, if we chose Zoilo Versailles, right? We would get the MVP version of Zoilo Versailles. Right. We wouldn't get like post knee operation Tony Oliva and first base Joe Mauer, right? We would get
but there might be a shortstop who is Zoilo but had even more success. So like it's longevity can help here, but yes, there are some peak years that you cannot ignore. You're right.
Yes, yeah. So well, you've kind of done some just initial legwork on this, Judd, some backbone work. Some framework, if you will.
Yep.
So where should we start with this exercise? Should we just like start with position players? Should we start with maybe we start with a rotation and kind of go from there? Start on the pitching side?
No, actually, let's start with position players.
Yeah. Okay.
I think and the infield is actually, I don't think, too tough.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know.
The outfield gets tougher, but I think it's not. And the rotation and bullpen is where I think you have to get creative, especially to go back to the 60s and 70s when you actually can knock some starters into the bullpen.
See, this is where it gets tricky because it's like, we'll get to the pitching stuff.
Yeah. Let's build a starting nine. Let's build our starting nine on the diamond and then go from there. Does that help?
And then do we want to decide right away if we're taking 13 position players and 13 pitchers, 14 versus, or let's do the 9 and then we can kind of build up?
Because I think the starting 9 gives us a framework of, all right, we got 9 out of the 26 and then we can get fun.
Okay. Who's your starting first baseman?
Killebrew.
Okay.
Yeah, you probably have to. I mean, but you could put him at DH too if you want.
But there's another guy there.
Well, see, this is already.
So
I might fight you on Killebrew at first.
So
he's not a great defensive first baseman, right?
I'm going to run through my 9, and then you guys tell me what you think. Okay. Catcher.
Mauer.
No debate. Joe Mauer.
Yep. No problem.
First base Killebrew. Mm-hmm. Second base Carew. Shortstop, Greg Gagne. Great glove, 2 World Series championships.
You need a glove. You need a glove out there, but
competent enough with the bat that he's certainly not an embarrassment.
Okay.
Third base, Gaetti. Now, Killebrew played some third base too, but Gaetti's a better third baseman. Killebrew's a better first baseman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And my outfield, left field, Bob Allison, who, just for some context here, because he moved with the team from Washington, hit at least 22 home runs in 7 of his first 8 seasons here. Wow. So he's in left.
Oh, man.
I've got Kirby in center, which I think is a no-brainer. I've got Torrey Hunter in right. And then the right fielder, because people are going to say, where's Tony O? I'm DHing him. And by the
you're
way,
DHing Tonio.
And by the way, the first ever DH in baseball history, American League, 1973, to hit a home run was Tonio. He hit the first home run. So that's my 9.
Okay.
I strongly disagree with some of these. So this is.
And I do have a bench built up as well, but that's my starting 9.
Okay. Can you float just some of the bench players, just to throw some of the other names out?
Oh, of course.
Float some of the bench players.
Herbeck, Morneau, Knobloch, jack of all trades, Cesar Tovar.
So he's like I'll put like utility.
Yep.
Cesar.
And I need a backup catcher, Earl Batty.
Yep. Sure. He was the first really good Twins catcher in the.
And he's
the 60s,
on your top
right?
25 list.
Yeah, that's
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So some names some just initial. I'm just going to go through the top 25 Twins of all time to see if we're missing anyone. I think you accounted for.
I accounted for almost everyone.
Pretty much everyone on that list.
I went through your list. Yes.
And then we had some like Michael Kadire was an honorable mention.
Yep.
Then a name, but here it is. Because again, we're taking the peak version of these players. A name that did not make the top 25 Twins of all time, and a name that did not make the honorable mentions, but at his best is the best defensive center fielder in Twins history, Byron Buxton. If we get now, the best version of Byron Buxton only plays like 90 games or 100 games, so
Puckett was so good that I'm fine with what I'm sure we all could agree is a slight decline in defensive ability at their peaks. Kirby was not Buxton, but Kirby was phenomenal.
And you could even put Torrey, because you have Torrey Hunter in right. You could put Torrey Hunter in center field
and Kirby in right.
And Puckett played right in the last 2 or 3 years of his career, right?
Absolutely.
So you could do something like that.
Absolutely right.
Okay. So first base, I was gonna say you could move Killebrew to DH, but I like the idea because you got to find room for Tony Oliva. I was wondering what you were gonna do with Oliva. Could I make a case? You've got Killebrew starting at first, Bob Allison starting in left field, and Tony Oliva at DH. Mm-hmm. Could we move Tony Oliva to the outfield, pre-knee injury Tony Oliva? Move Bob Allison to a bench role. Move Harmon Killebrew to DH, and start Kent Herbeck or Justin Morneau. So basically, you'd be swapping Bob Allison out of your starting 9, and you'd be swapping in either Kent Herbeck or peak Justin Morneau. Because keep in mind, peak Justin Morneau was an MVP.
Right.
Peak Kent Herbeck was one of the best hitters in baseball, on-base machine, right? Mm-hmm. I think both those guys are better overall hitters and players than Bob Allison was. I'm just floating it out here in our war room. This. Okay.
Yep. I mean, you could. I feel like Harmon. I feel like peak Tony in the outfield. Probably, I'm still weakening our outfield a little bit. And Killebrew, I think, was a very serviceable first baseman. But yes, you could definitely consider that. I mean, it still keeps Bob on the team. It's not like you're taking him off the team.
Here's another name. I'm just going to throw a name out. Just throwing names out here, okay? Mm-hmm. We're just.
This is the exercise.
We're just a bunch of friends here, bunch of Twins guys throwing names out.
Absolutely.
Another one of the great DHs in Twins history that did not make the conversation for top 25 Twins of all time was Jim Thome. He came in a specialist role. It's funny. Jim Thome, as kind of a part-time player in 2010, finished. He got MVP votes. He finished 18th in MVP voting. Mm-hmm. He had a 1,039 OPS at age 39 and hit some of the most famous, majestic home runs in the 15-year history of that ballpark.
Who's the only question I really have? Because I know we can swap Tony O into the we don't really have a fourth outfielder on our bench per se.
Yeah, and right now Tony Oliva is our fourth outfielder.
Yep.
But he's also our starting DH.
Right, but in
Judd's, we do need another outfielder here.
In Judd's 9, and then his bench would be Herbeck, Morneau, Nabi, Tovar, Batty.
You've got. Let me see here. You've got 15. No, I'm sorry. I listed a couple of lists. You have 14 position. Well, this is where we have to do the exercise of: do we want 13 and 13, or do we want? I think we can get away with 14 and 12 because some of our pitchers are going to be horses, right?
4, 5, 6, 7.
We would go 5 horse starting pitchers and then 7 relievers. 12 pitchers.
12 pitchers total.
Okay.
But yeah,
So that gives us
right.
room to do 14
Where did-
position players.
Where did Tovar? Hold on a second here, too. Let me look up Tovar's history as far as where he played.
Can you throw him? And by the way, you don't even have I don't think you have Zoilo on here, right? Zoilo.
I don't have him on.
Bonkers, man.
I don't have him on. I considered him in the or on the bench, but then I had Chuck as well.
What about Nick Punto? You gonna throw him in that utility mix? Actually,
Correa?
2006 Nick Punto,
Really
300 hitter,
Yeah,
vacuum cleaner at third base, man. That guy was
makes
a
this list great.
stud.
All right.
But peak Zoilo was a Gold Glove shortstop, the MVP in 1965, led the league in
I got a guy that's great.
extra
though.
base hits.
I flat out said Greg Gagne was a great glove man and won 2 World Series, and I bumped Zoilo completely.
I mean, even though the majority of his success has come outside of Minnesota, he's only been here a little bit. Carlos Correa is better than all those shortstops.
Oh, dude. Dex.
It's not even close.
Carlos Correa has to be in the discussion. Not a top 25 twin of all time, but if we're getting the peak version of Correa.
The peak version of Gagne, Correa, and even Zoilo is not on the level of Carlos Correa, even though Zoilo won an MVP. Carlos Correa is
the peak twins version of Correa.
True. Hasn't really. I mean, he had some.
It's
he had
not
a nice
played
postseason
itself
this year.
out yet. Yeah.
For sure.
Are we translating his Houston success?
No, it's got to be twins. But
Okay,
he's
then it's
defensively
Yep.
he's
But Gagne was great. Like I feel really good about my shortstop here.
I feel really good about 2 years of Carlos Correa that
I
I've
do
seen over than
too.
Greg Gagne, and he was a
But
magician.
you didn't see
at
Gagne
shortstop.
play. Gagne was great, man.
I
Great.
saw Gagne play for sure. I
Greg
saw like
Gagne was great.
4 or 5 years of Gagne. So let me ask you this, Judd. If you took current version of Carlos Correa, not the foot injury version, just like the healthy version of Carlos Correa, and you put him on the 1987 and 1991 Twins instead of Greg Gagne, do those teams still win the World Series? I think they're better. I think those teams are better. He's a better hitter. It's not even close. Carlos Correa is a better hitter than Greg Gagne.
At his peak, yes. Agree completely. The last 2 years of him here, fielding, fantastic. Hitting, fine. I'd still have Gagne as a twin over Correa. Correa to me has to show, I need to see a peak Correa year overall here for him to get on this list.
Yeah, I know Phil was fighting for Buxton too, but I have a much stronger case with Correa making this team than I do.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Cesar Tovar played a ton of games in the outfield.
Okay, so
He
can
did.
be a-
So
he
he's our
played
backup.
most of his innings were in the outfield.
Yep.
So
So
over
he's our
7,000
backup.
innings.
Yep.
So,
Yep. So we're covered.
okay. So of the names we need to get to 14 position players. Real quick, are there any other little hidden guys that we haven't really touched on? The Correa, Buxton types.
Smalley in his peak year in '79 made the All-Star game.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still can't do it.
Yeah,
Zoilo's the one that I feel has the most room to push on this list right now.
You know who was really good, and he did not spend a lot of time here, but good Lord, he produced, just was an incredible hitter, and even analytically was really good. Shane Mack.
I agree on Shane Mack.
Shane
Most
Mack
underrated twin of all time.
I considered him for the left field job.
I mean, that dude produced, he was a 300-plus hitter every year, had a 19 WAR in just 5 years with the Twins, which is really, he had a 6.5 WAR in 92.
You're right about
a 5
that.
WAR in 91.
Like the things he did were kind of underappreciated, like
Totally.
getting on base, for instance.
Because he was sort of in Puckett's shadow. Like
Yeah.
when you play in the same outfield as Puckett, but Dex, you're right. Like Shane Mack, definitely one of the top 5 most underrated Twins of all time.
Yep. So we also need to account for some of the other, just like going through some of the other positions here. So second base, we've got Carew and Chuck Knobloch listed.
Yep.
The only third baseman we've talked about is Gary Gaetti, but there's got to be somebody else that can play some third base on this team too. I'm going to throw Corey Koski's name out there. So you can put Killebrew at third, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw Corey Koski's name out as an underrated Twins player.
I
Just going to throw it out there.
don't hate it. Yeah.
To go back to a name that you brought up, Phil, am I dismissing Kadire too quickly?
I think you are, Judd.
That's very possible.
I think you are. Yeah. You could even throw him at third base in a pinch, more of an
Third.
outfielder.
Right. First. Yeah. The versatility. is key
Kadire
there.
and Zoilo are two of, and we'll get to the third, but are two of three Twins Hall of Famers not on this roster. The rest of the class, everyone is accounted for. So Kadire, I might be dismissing him.
So here are the names that we've at least mentioned here. Okay. And we're looking for a starting 9, and then we're looking for 5 bench position players before we get to pitcher. We need 14 of them.
Yep.
Joe Mauer, Earl Batty, catchers. Killebrew, Herbeck, Morneau in the first base mix. Carew, Nabi at second. Gagne, Zoilo, and Correa at short. Gaetti, Koski as the third base mix. Bob Allison, Kirby Puckett, Torrey Hunter, Shane Mack, Michael Kadire, Tony Oliva in the outfield / DH mix. Cesar Tovar, super utility player who could also be a backup sort of fourth outfielder.
Yep.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. We need to cut 5 of those guys.
Okay, let's start with the current roster that I have, all right? Do we just flat out cut any of the bench players off the list and put someone else on?
Give me your bench players again. I just have them listed by position.
Sure. Herbeck, Morneau.
We got to cut one of we got to cut one of those guys, I think, don't we?
That's what I'm thinking.
Or we have to cut Bob Allison.
Yeah.
Let's start with outfielders. So we got, I think, let's go with the locks. Let's count the locks. Mauer. Lock.
Yep.
Killer, lock. Earl Batty as a backup catcher.
Lock.
A lock, right? Anyone want to fight for Kurt Suzuki? Matt Walbeck?
His battery mate
Mark Revin?
to end the All-Star game here actually is going to be a interesting part of the discussion.
How about 2019 Mitch Garver?
Yeah.
I mean, peak version, Silver Slugger.
Peak versions.
Peak version. Okay,
Dude, if we're taking peak versions, I could put Miguel Sano in this mix. Peak version Miguel Sano?
Yeah, well, you could, but then I would just crumble up the list and go home.
Peak version Eddie Rosario? Bombas, bombas.
Oh, that's a Bumba. He did come up with Bumba. Yeah, and I don't think he made a dime off that. That poor guy.
We did.
So our locks are Mauer, Killebrew,
Batty,
Carew. Right?
Tony
Nabi's got to be a lock as a backup. What else can Carew play?
First.
So first, okay. So first and second.
He moved to first base at the end of his the end of his stint here.
Yep.
Kirby, lock.
Puckett, lock. Torrey has to be a lock, right?
I think Torrey's a lock.
I think Torrey's a lock too.
I don't think we could take Torrey.
And we have Tony Antonio.
Oliva's a lock.
Yeah.
Cesar Tovar, I think. Is Cesar Tovar a lock?
Phil?
I don't know. I really.
No,
don't
I think Nabi's a lock because he's one of the. I mean, he's incredible.
Do you guys
kind of a weird clubhouse guy, but yeah.
Okay, so I could see moving Allison out of left field. I don't think we can cut him off this list.
I agree with that. He's on the list.
I think he's a lock to be on the list.
Lock on the list, not on. Okay.
But very flexible with where he ends up. I think Herbeck or Morneau have to go. One of them.
Who's our shortstop lock? We haven't pinned. Oh, Gaetti's a lock. Gaetti's a lock, right?
Lock. Yeah, that's
no
problem. Yep.
Okay.
And right now we've got Gagne. Dex talked about Carlos Correa.
So we have 10 locks. Mauer, Batty, Killer, Carew, Nabi, Gaetti, Allison, Puckett, Hunter, and Tony Oliva.
Yep.
I know you're stumping harder for Greg Gagne at shortstop than anyone else. And Dex and I are kind of pushing on that.
Yeah.
I know he's the best. He's one of the best defensive players in Twins history. And so I am not moving him off the team, but necessarily. But his bat compared to some of these other dudes, I mean, Greg Gagne was like, bat him ninth and kind of cross your fingers. And we've got guys like Correa and Zoilo Versailles, and
I did have problems with not getting Versailles on this roster.
It's obviously, I mean, and to your credit, it's the World Series thing too that's helping. Like if he never won a World Series, he's not on this list.
But he's like you've got this rock solid, incredible defensive shortstop.
Yep. He had longevity, and he has 2 rings.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, he's a lock. Let's put him in.
If Carlos Correa comes out this year, and he's healthy and replicates what he did in Houston at the plate, then Declan's probably right at that point. Because he's marvelous defensively.
So, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We need 3 more to make out a 14-man position group. And here are the other options, okay? We need to pick 3 more out of these guys.
All right.
Herbeck, Morneau, Zoilo, Correa. I'm going to take Koski off.
Okay.
Because we can put Killer over there. We can put maybe even like Cesar Tovar over there.
Mm-hmm.
Shane Mack, Michael Kadire. Let's put Cesar as a lock.
Okay.
He can play everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, he's our best. He's our utility guy.
Okay.
Sure.
That means we got to pick 2. Outfielders, we got Allison, Puckett, Hunter. Oliva can play some outfield. Cesar can play some outfield. I think we got to pick either Zoilo or Carlos, and then either Herbeck or Morney. I think that's what we're down to here, boys.
Okay.
Dude, we got to leave Herbeck or Morneau off the list. Oh man.
I know. I'm voting as good as he was at his peak. I'm leaving Morneau off.
Oh my God.
I
That's brutal, dude.
I think I am.
Well, this
too,
is a
Phil.
tough exercise. I
Phil,
love
I think
it.
I am
Oh,
too.
God.
I think I am too.
Because it's a 26-man. It's like you can't have 5 first basemen on this
No, you're
roster,
right.
right?
No, you're right.
I know I stumped for the current day Correa option, and I didn't see Herbeck, but I think the side tilts to Herbeck.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
more
he was
people would pick him.
really good for 14 years.
Yep.
And
Very
then
good, too.
between Zoilo and Carlos, I mean, one of them was an MVP of the league and a Gold Glover.
And
I think it's Zoilo.
And he was
again,
an MVP here.
same. If I have to use the same logic, then yes, you have to give it to Versailles.
Yeah, because his peak
Okay.
greatness came in a Twins uniform.
Okay, so here are the 14. Mauer and Earl Batty are the catchers. Killer and Herbeck, Harmon Killebrew and Kent Herbeck are at first base. Carew and Nobby are at second base. Greg Gagne, Zoila Versailles, shortstops. Gary Gaetti at third, and then you could move if you have to move someone else to third, you can move Killebrew or Cesar Tovar.
Yep.
And we have Bob Allison, Kirby Puckett, Torrey Hunter, Tony Oliva as the outfielders and DH,
Okay.
and then Cesar Tovar. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We are snubbing Justin Morneau, Carlos Correa, Corey Koski, Shane Mack, Michael Kadire, and Matt Tolbert. Those are the guys we're snubbing.
Shane Mack's a great
and Jeff
one, though.
Rebele we're snubbing.
Declan's exactly right. Shane Mack was so underappreciated.
Yeah.
And if
And
I'm not
Buxton.
mistaken,
We're snubbing Buxton and Tomey, too, by the way.
I don't feel bad about Buxton.
I don't feel bad about
I don't
Buxton.
feel one iota. I feel bad for Byron, but I don't feel bad
Yes.
about this.
And
But
Like,
imagine
yes.
a starting outfield of Buxton, Kirby, and Torrey roaming
God,
around the
Yeah,
pasture.
yes.
Well, if I get, but I mean, Byron, I'm just, for the rest of my life, I'm going to think
I'm
about
like Judd.
the fact that he was always hurt. So I don't feel bad about Buxton. Kadire, I feel a little bit bad about. And, yeah, Shane Mack is I believe when Kirby finally made the move to right field, I believe he was replaced by Shane Mack.
Yep, I think that's correct. Yeah. So, okay, starting rotation. We need 5 starters, and then we need 7 bullpen guys. This will be a quicker, easier exercise, I think, because there's some major locks here, right?
Yep.
Judd?
Johan Santana.
Is he your opening day starter?
Well, I'll go through the rest. And you guys can decide on this one.
Okay.
Bert Blyleven. 49.1 WAR, by the way, for Bert.
With the Twins. Just with the Twins, I think.
Yes, it was. Frank Viola.
Oh, man.
Camilo Pascual.
Yep.
And then, okay, here's the one that's tough. I picked Jack Morris.
Yep, you're right.
But did you guys know that the third best WAR in the history of this franchise, dating back to its years in Washington, is Brad Radke?
Yeah.
45.6 WAR.
Yep.
Yep.
And but because he pitched in the steroid era,
Yeah.
his numbers were overall numbers look bad, like they look worse. But every pitcher had a 4.5 ERA in that
Yes.
era.
I'm just saying I dismissed him immediately and then went back and did some research on Radke.
Yep. But you're right though, because the 5 guys you just listed, if you compare those guys at their best in a game versus Brad Radke, these guys are power dominant strikeout guys. So the question, and then okay, those are 5. Those are 5 rotation locks, right? Give us your bullpen locks,
Okay.
and then we can fill in the rest with however we need to.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 arms in the bullpen. Aguilera,
Okay.
Joe Nathan, Jim Perry, who pitched in 376 games for the Twins. 249 were starts, but he had 88 saves. You
can mix in.
I
You can
think
mix
you
him
can
in there.
easily
Just mix him right in. Yeah.
I think you're not
Swing
torturing this project by sticking him in the bullpen.
Throw him right in there. Yeah.
Jeff Reardon, who closed out the 87 World Series.
Yep.
Shout out to you guys here a little bit. This is probably borderline everyday Eddie Gudardo.
The peak version.
Yep.
He was a big time back end guy, and he'd be like your 6th inning guy here. You know,
Yep.
you throw him out there.
True. Another one where I fudged a bit, Jim Cott. 51 games in relief as a Twin. So, like, he was predominantly a starter. You could probably make a case for him in that starting rotation. And then the last one I picked, Al Worthington. The first Twins really, really good bullpen arm. 327 games with the Twins, 0 starts, a 2.62 ERA. He is not in the Twins Hall of Fame. He probably could be. But here's the most interesting one I left out. And you guys might disagree with me, not including him. Glenn Perkins.
Well, Glenn's a lefty.
And he had 120 saves. So there's a case to be made that you could easily replace one of these lesser guys, not obviously not the Nathans and Aggies, with Glenn Perkins.
Eddie, a lefty too.
Eddie's a lefty.
Yep.
Eddie is a lefty.
But I mean, you could replace Al Worthington with Perk.
I'm just looking too here. We got Johan's a lefty. I just want to make sure we got lefties here. So Johan's a lefty. We got
Viola's a lefty.
Viola. Jim Cott. Jim Cott was a lefty, wasn't he?
Yep.
Okay.
He was. So we're in pretty good shape on distribution of arms in the rotation.
Okay. What about so that's pretty good. Let's just throw a couple other names out here just for fun, and then we'll get to a random twin of the week here. Last couple minutes. Perkins, peak Liriano before the surgery. I know you probably can't do that because you got Hall of Famers here. That
I was
going
to
to
say who would he replace in the starting rotation?
But I think, Johan, Blyleven, Viola, Pasquale, Jack Morris. And then you've got your closers. You got Aggie, Nathan, Reardon, Eddie G, all just stacked in the back end of that bullpen with bridge guys, kind of swing guys, Jim Perry,
Who gets the
Jim
ninth?
Cott, Al Worthington. I think Aggie gets the 9th, doesn't he?
Aggie or Nathan.
Actually, regular season, Nathan gets the 9th. Postseason,
Yes.
Aggie gets the 9th.
Probably a good idea.
Don't forget Reardon.
Yeah, Reardon too.
But I think you're right.
I'm gonna do this again. Duran's in my bullpen.
Oh, it's hard to disagree.
I
could do
Al
that.
Worthington, thanks, buddy. I'm with Dex.
Yeah.
Duran
I'm
is in
sorry.
this bullpen.
I need
I could do that.
a 7th, 8th, 9th of Joe Nathan,
I could do that.
Duran into
Absolutely.
Aggie or whatever combination you wanted to do would be
Yeah.
insane.
So no Perk for you.
No Perk for me.
Okay.
I'm
Perk
good on
is right on the edge, man. Perk was, and he pitched on some bad teams, but he was filthy and unhittable for like 2 or 3 years.
Saves. But yeah, you
Okay.
know what? Duran's good.
There it
By
is.
Al Worthington.
I love it, dude.
Poor Al's like, I made it. No, I didn't make it.
Sorry.
Well, we can, debate us in the comments section. I feel so dirty about not including Justin Morneau on this list. So dirty, but you can only keep so many DH first baseman types.
I
on
say
here,
you
man.
give this some more thought, and our next Twin show, tell me after a night or two of sleeping on this decision if you can still leave Justin Morneau off.
Okay, Bob Allison's my biggest question there. I get it; he was a really
Do
good
some
player for a long
research.
time, but okay.
Yeah.
Hey, random twin of the week here. I'm leading this today for you guys after losing last week. So the way this works is 2 members of the show compete against each other. The third member throws out clues. We've done about 30 of these now. Dex has 11 wins. Judd has 9. I have 8. Last week, Judd correctly guessed Darren Mastriani. Before that, it was Mike Pelfrey, Orlando Hudson, Tony Batista, Matt Garza. All throughout a series of clues, you guys get up to 3 incorrect guesses each. If one of you hits a third strike, the other person wins automatically. No cheating. You can control F if you feel like you need to look up
that's right.
like a previous name. We're kind of getting to that point. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
This random twin was born on April 26th, 1978. This random twin was a 5th-round draft pick. This random twin played in 888 career Major League Baseball games.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This random twin is a World Series champion.
No, I wouldn't have. Almost threw out a hilarious guess, and then I remembered what year he was born in.
Yeah, he would have been 13 years old on the 1991
he was
Twins.
12 in
12, yeah, 12. Or 13, 12, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, this random twin was a one-time All-Star.
Okay. Oh.
This random twin was once presented a key to his hometown city.
I gotta guess. I just. He wouldn't have debuted that late.
This random twin, let's see here. A former teammate once praised his ability to deliver in big moments. Quote from the former teammate: "There's nobody better than that guy in the clutch." I wouldn't have necessarily thought this. Like, it wouldn't have been the first thought I had thinking about this player. But when you look at his statistics on Baseball Reference, it does sort of check out. His high leverage numbers are up from his medium and low leverage numbers. Very impressive. I would also point to his postseason numbers being much elevated from his regular season numbers. In fact, this random twin has a 949 OPS in the postseason. In the regular season, this random twin has a 748 OPS. So his OPS goes up by about 200 points from regular season to postseason. And it wouldn't, I don't think it's not necessarily like, oh, for sure, yeah. Sneaky clutch. This random twin hit 2 home runs in the World Series.
Oh God, who is this? I have somewhat of a guess. It doesn't all add up. Parts of it add up.
This random twin played 7,500 innings at one position.
Kurt Suzuki. I'm gonna do it.
Kurt Suzuki. Incorrect.
Ah.
Did Kurt Suzuki win a World Series?
With the
Nationals?
Nationals, I thought at the end of his career. I don't think he
might
played
have.
much, but
Okay.
So he played 7,500 innings at one position and played 1 inning at a different position. So like 99.9% of his innings came at one position.
Mike Redman.
Oh, Declan. Slinging it right now.
God dang it!
Uh-oh. His World Series title came with a division rival of the Minnesota Twins.
AJ
Pierzynski?
Pierzynski. I got it. I said
Pierzynski first.
I had that. I said AJ Pierzynski.
I said Pierzynski is used, and you started up saying AJ. AJ. Oh, it's not.
It's not.
Oh, so who cares?
It's not AJ. That is Declan's third incorrect incorrect guess, unfortunately, which means Judd is the winner of the random twin of the week by default. He was a teammate of AJ Pierzynski's with the 2005 Chicago White Sox.
Joe Creedy, son of a biscuit. God.
Joe Creedy?
Joe Creedy.
Joe Creedy?
Joe Creedy, man. Just a rake in the postseason.
He was
apparently.
good.
He was really good when his back wasn't. He had to have 3 season-ending back surgeries.
I didn't realize that Joe Creedy was.
Dude was a legend, man. Missouri legend.
Not here he wasn't, but you're right. He was in Chicago.
So Judd backdoors his way into
Again,
a victory here.
I've been doing that a lot lately.
Yeah. All right, we got to go here because we got to get to Thor's Day on Purple Daily.
Thor can tear it up again.
This has been the Score North Twin Show. We'll see you guys next time.
Oh, my God.